going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode, a sort of, I guess, relaunch, if you want to call it, of Behind the Visor. I am super excited that you guys are here to join us today. It is myself, Stavros Katsantonis, and Luca Chaffee. We'll kind of get into, I guess, a little bit of how Luca and I met in this introduction segment, but we have a really cool show lined up for you guys today. A cool interview with CFL top draft prospect Joel Dublanko. But Luca, how are we doing today? How's your day going today? What are you feeling about this podcast so far? Excited for, I guess, the relaunch that we're doing right now?
I mean, it's hard to feel bad when episode 1 of Behind the Visor is being recorded. We're brewing up a snowstorm out in Calgary. I'm braving for the cold, but this is like a warm hot chocolate on that winter day. Super pumped to be a part of this. I think we got a lot of cool stuff coming, and yeah, I'm just hyped to get this off the ground and get it out to the CFL fans that so deserve some CFL content from a player's perspective.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the things that's obviously, and I won't say lacking in like a bad way, because it's not a bad thing that, you don't have a lot of players doing this, but when you see it, the different sports leagues, the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, all these other sports leagues, like you see all these players that have really sort of, I guess, like leveraged their brands in different ways outside of sports, and podcasting or YouTube is one of those ways. So I think it's one of those things where hopefully we see, and obviously not only myself, but more CFL players start to, I guess, take advantage of like the platforms that they have, because at the end of the day, we're professional athletes, and we do have, there's a lot of people that want to hear what we have to say, I think, outside of the four corners of a media interview where you necessarily can't really be yourself. But without going too far down that rabbit hole, I guess just giving everybody a brief, kind of a brief understanding of who we are. Personally, Stavros Katsantonis, obviously, as I already said, I play in the CFL for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, going into my fourth season as a defensive back. And, just looking to, I guess, take that next step in the career of winning a Grey Cup. I was fortunate enough to go in my rookie year to the 2021 Grey Cup. Unfortunately, lost that in Hamilton. Still on the Grey Cup drought. I know there's probably a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan or something like that in the comments right now saying Grey Cup drought, or some Argo fan. Whatever. They're always upset about something, and they love to pick on the Ticats, but we're fighting for that Grey Cup this year, that's for sure. But played my university ball at the University of British Columbia. I'm a dual citizen, was born and raised in Bakersfield, California, and my dad was born in Edmonton, so that's where I get the kind of Canadian side from me. So that's just a little bit of my kind of, I guess, brief history. Side note, broke out in the league last year as a starter, and just looking forward to building on last year's season.
Yeah, and I guess I'll introduce myself. It's going to be hard to follow that. I'd have no CFL games under my belt as a player, but I currently work in game presentation for the Calgary Stampeders. Actually reached out to Stavros when I was still in college, just reaching out to see if he had any interest in me helping out with his social media, with his athlete marketing, and here we are. I'm sure he was thrilled to get an email on his realtor account, and it ended up being from me, who had no interest in purchasing a house from him. I'm also a dual citizen. I was born and raised for the first few years of my life in Seattle, and now I'm in Calgary. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a rivalry. Week 1 is not that far away, with Stavros and the Ticats coming into McMahon Stadium, but big football fan, big CFL fan, and I think this pod is something that myself as a fan would have wanted, and I'm super pumped to be a part of it as well.
Yeah, I think even looking back to like that 2022 year, when you had first reached out, and it was on my realtor account, I can't say I was disappointed, because it's not like business was going crazy during my football season anyways, but I remember you reaching out, and it was like probably that first week of training camp, or maybe you had reached out before and I had probably gotten back to you like once training camp had started. But I just remember I was in like the subway parking lot across from McMaster when I think we had our first like kind of phone call or like Zoom meeting. And it's just crazy to see kind of how that relationship has just obviously done great things for me, just on the marketing end of my brand with, the TikTok videos that we've done, the Instagram reels, doing over 1 million on reels, with one of our videos, and just seeing like the TikTok, I guess, obviously it's a little bit different now, but just seeing how that grew, the Instagram, all that, and then now we obviously have this great podcast that is being able to be pushed to the masses in such a great way. But it's just crazy to see where we started to where we are now. And I mean, to look around at all, just everything that's in front of me, it's like, wow, this is kind of like I won't say a dream come true, because my dream come true is me being able to play pro football, but to see just another aspect of using the marketing end, this content creation is something that I've always been interested in, and always had respect for anyone that has had success or done any commitment to content creation, because it is a pretty cool and very tough market to break into.
And I think, like you mentioned, the CFL, it's not necessarily bad, but a lot of the players, I think people don't realize just how much personality that these guys have. Like, these guys are football players at the end of the day, and there are a lot of big personalities. And I think the NFL is just so big that more of the personalities will show up. But the CFL has those personalities as well. And it's difficult just when you see a guy on game day and he's got the shoulder pads and the face mask, and in your case, the tinted visor. You don't they almost look like robots down on the turf. But when you kind of get the pads off and go behind the visor, shameless plug on the pod on 10 minutes into episode 1, but you really get to see the personality of these guys, and so many guys in the CFL, just like the guys in the NFL, can really take advantage of that brand. And speaking of taking advantage of your brand, Stavros, you're gonna have to explain the Lego Stav kind of going viral on social media. I saw there was another, I believe it was someone on the Arizona Cardinals, got their Lego done as well. But where did the Lego come from, and are we going to see many figures in the Ticats team store?
Yeah, I mean, it was really kind of just something that my shout out to my brother, Nico. He was the I guess UI UX web designer, masterpiece artist there. But I had seen kind of like, I guess like a reel, probably like a couple months back. I think it was either Tennessee or Syracuse. One of their videographers had literally made a similar video where some player scored a touchdown, and he put the raw game footage and then transitioned it into that sort of like Lego type video. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. And I knew my brother was into that design sphere and was pretty good at that stuff. So I just was like, hey, do you think we can make this? And he's like, yeah, we can. He's like, it's just going to take me about like 3 months to kind of get it all together on the graphic side. He did it way faster than that. So I think he was just, he was prepping for it, but he did an outstanding job on it. And when I finally saw kind of the renderings of those graphics, and we could probably even throw some of those on the screen too, but it was just like I was like, wow, like it's kind of like when you're a kid and you play with Legos, and I was one of those kids as well that used to love building Lego sets and things like that. And then when you're like on the other end as like a professional athlete and like an adult, and it just kind of brings you back to like your childhood in a way to see something like that. So it was definitely super cool to kind of see what he did. And then like the response to it on social media when I had posted it was just like everybody's like, how do I get one? And I was like, okay, everybody slow your roll a little bit. I am kind of looking for ways on how I could potentially get it into the Ticat store. I know back a few years ago there was some Lego collaborations with some CFL players. I don't know how far along there is with copyright infringement or anything like that, so I'm not trying to get in any trouble here.
You're gonna have to use the bootleg Legos, like the mega blocks.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then how many people are actually going to buy those? So I would love to, if there is a path to do it. I am starting to kind of, I guess, pursue that opportunity. But for right now, it's just a cool little fun graphic thing that, my brother and I were messing around, doing. And he's been fortunate enough to kind of do it for some other players. And he is also working on some more future CFL players. I won't give any secrets, but it's another Ticat player. So I know Ticat fans will be pretty excited for this next one. And hopefully we can get a physical version of it so we can get it to Ticat fans and hopefully more CFL fans of the like.
And yeah, I mean, speaking of the team stores, the CFL, and I will take this to my grave, the CFL merchandise is some of the best in all of sports. I think the starter jackets that you see that they've come out with in recent years, it looks like you got pulled out of 1980 and dropped in 2024. But that style is coming back. I mean, vintage and the thrift store look, it's
Yeah,
big now. And I mean, those jackets are obviously the bigger pieces, but even down to the t-shirts and the hats, and especially with New Era being more of a hat company, obviously you get some pretty cool stuff from there. But
right.
in terms of CFL collabs, like, is there anything that you kind of want to see? Is there anything that you want to see brought back? Is there anything that's floating around now that you're like, I want that, other than obviously the Lego tie cats in the team store?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean they've done so many things. Like I think it was like the Fantus Flakes or Flutie Flakes or something like that. Like I mean I know cereal's not really your big, I guess, sell anymore as much as it was like in the 90s or early 2000s, because I don't think really many people are really eating cereal as much. I mean I don't personally, but there might be people that still like appreciate that stuff.
Cereal's a guilty pleasure. I think some people will go for a bowl every once in a while. Maybe it's a hotel
Yeah,
continental breakfast, but
I've seen some of my teammates go for those, at the continental breakfasts that we have when we're, on our away trips. I've seen some teammates go for the boxes, and mind you, eat them without any liquid in them either.
no, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
that.
Yeah, I don't know, but we might have to get some of my teammates on that actually do that in the season, so we could confront them and see why they're doing what they're doing.
They're
But
in the minority for sure.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, as far as like collabs, I've been a real fan of obviously like the vintage wear. I think that's one of the cool things. There are actually a few, I think, vintage clothing companies. One is, I think it's Omni's in Hamilton. I mean, they don't just sell vintage stuff, but they do the resale shoes, the Jordans and all that. But they always, like, at least once or twice a month, they'll have like a vintage Hamilton, I guess, pop up or just gear that they have, like packs that they're selling, and they always have like the stuff from like the 80s and 90s, and most of it is in like really good condition. But the starter jackets have been like my favorite, the ones that they currently have in the store right now, that are like that retro look, but they're obviously brand new. That's kind of been my favorite thing. Another thing that I had seen, just kind of like doing just internet scroll, you're seeing things on the CFL Reddit page and things like that. But I think at the 100th Grey Cup, there was this memorabilia box that came with, I think it was like a Canadian loonie, a mini like Grey Cup replica, some CFL team pins, and then like a piece of silver.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if they could bring stuff like that back each Grey Cup. I don't know. I think you'd have something there. And I think that was like, they were only 8,000 ever boxes that were ever given out. So I think if you can tap in a little bit to that, I guess, more limited edition, and make people feel like, hey, this is like really worth something. And not necessarily, you'll have your people that obviously will want to resell and things like that. But there's a good, I think, core group of CFL fans that will buy this stuff just to have it because they love the league that much. So I think if we could get into more, without tying it down to one specific collaboration, I think if we could get into more like limited edition releases, because everything nowadays is like, limited edition. The shoes, the type of shoes you buy, the Jordans, right? Even the vintage clothing now that's super hard to come by, that was made in the 90s but has been kept in that pristine condition. I think if you can get more limited stuff like that, I think it'll just, the CFL fans will buy it, and a lot of players will buy it too, I'll tell you that.
And I think that, like you mentioned, limited edition, especially for Grey Cups, like you look back at, and not to bring the NFL into it, but you look back at the NFL and the Super Bowls, like Super Bowl 25, 26, 27, like kind of before they modernized their logo where it's just the trophy with XLIX or whatever the Super Bowl
Right.
is during the given year. Like, you want to see, if the Super Bowl was in Arizona, you wanted to see like cactuses involved. So
Right.
I think we can, as a group, we can really collectively think about, okay, well, next year the Grey Cup it's in Vancouver, and I'll be the first to say that after Green Day's performance in Hamilton, I'm very excited to see what Vancouver has lined up for the Grey Cup Festival and halftime show. But you want to see elements of the ocean, you want to see elements of the coast, maybe bring in that Touchdown Pacific is coming this year, and they're playing games in Victoria, and have those elements where you're not bringing home a CFL pin, you're bringing home what is a piece of history. And like you mentioned, people
Right.
will resell it, but items like that kind of grow the fans, not only now, but in the future and down the line. And when people's kids have kids, and those are fans that you have kind of for a lifetime. So
Right.
I really, and a big part of the things that I get handed down from my grandfather are his trading cards. And I'd be remiss
Right.
to leave out Upper Deck obviously has quite the line of CFL trading cards. And I wanted to get your take. Are you a card collector, or do you have cards kind of locked and loaded? I'm leading this question. I think I might know the answer to it.
Yeah, I think you do. I am more of like a recent. I mean, obviously as a kid, I had the card collection, stuff like that. I don't really have anything from my childhood of the sports cards. I think those all got sold in garage sales, or those type of things when they wasn't really as big. But now with, like you said, all the vintage stuff coming back, I wish I had some of those like Gretzky cards. My dad, I mean, I grew up in a sports bar. My dad owned a sports bar from 1989 to like just before COVID. And one of my favorite things in like one of the original locations that he had, it was a full, like 20 or 30 seat bar, and the bar top was this was before like epoxy tables were like cool on Facebook and stuff like that and Instagram, but it was an epoxied clear resin, and underneath it were all sorts of different trading cards from baseball to NFL, NHL, NBA, and they always had, because it was a sports bar, all this just cool sports memorabilia. Like my dad has just different signed things from Gretzky, some LA Kings stuff. His old joke is he came to California before Gretzky did in the late '80s from Edmonton. So that's his little claim
Gretzky
there.
followed him.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he says. Gretzky followed him. But yeah, I think just in growing up in that and always being so fat, like one of the things I want to create, at least for my man cave one day, is something like that where it's like a bar or a table with an epoxy resin over with trading cards underneath. So that's kind of where my, I guess, interest started. But more recently, in being a pro football player, you don't really think of it as much with being a player, right? Because you're living it, right? So you don't think, oh, I'm going to go collect cards. But something that stood out to me each year in the locker room, and it's something I look forward to every single year, is when Upper Deck sends each player that they have in their, I guess, catalog for that upcoming year, their trading cards for the year. So every year when that comes, the PA rep usually brings these big, I guess, cardboard boxes in of each player's set, and then you go around with the Sharpie and you get everybody's autograph. So I have Simone Lawrence autograph cards, Jeremiah Masoli, Speedy B, Jovan Santos, just so many of these like awesome guys that have been on other teams, and then guys that obviously been with Hamilton for so long. You get their cards, and that's kind of reignited my sort of, I guess, passion for collecting. So I have a pretty good collection that we will actually be getting into a little bit later. So I don't want to give away too much of what I got, but yeah, it is something that I think Upper Deck's doing a great job now with the game used cards, where they have the jersey patches. I think those are always really cool to pull when you get into the actual pack breaking and you see like, oh, I got a jersey of so and so Ricky Ray when he was playing in this game. Like I think that's a way to grow the interest, especially for kids that are just getting into it now, because it is so popular. Like I said, when I was a kid, and I'm sure when you were a kid, it wasn't really cool, I guess, to have trading cards. I think it was more like the nerdy thing to do,
100%.
if you want to look at it that way. But now with NFTs and all these different pieces of art that you see, it's like trading cards is like, if you have like something that's rare, or like a rare rookie card, it's like you could be sitting on top of a lot of money, and then two, it's just a cool thing to pass down through the generations of kids and the next CFL fan, so to speak.
And you mentioned that Upper Deck sends cards of the guys they have, obviously. What was your first year getting a card, and what's it like kind of being in your first couple of years, maybe not the most name value player, but all your teammates with the cards, do they kind of throw you something just to say, hey, sorry we didn't include you? And then obviously that's just another chip on the shoulder to be on the cards next year.
Yeah, so personally, and there's a few other guys that at least that I've been with since my rookie year. I have never received a set of cards. I don't know. I have signed one of the years, they send us these like clear little sticky, I don't even know what they're called, but basically
Like
the
sticker auto kind of things.
exactly, yeah, the
I
sticker
gotcha.
autos. So I did like about 150 signatures or something like that. I think last year, but I still have yet to receive my box. I'm really fingers crossed this year. I'm hoping I'm part of the deck, but I haven't been part of the, I guess, last 3 years, because they always do it from the year previous, how they take the photos. But yeah, this is the year. This is the year I get a card. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, in saying that though, everyone in there that's getting their cards, everyone's always super cool about signing a card and giving it to you. Like, some guys will just sign cards and go set it in each locker, because in your box you get probably over 100 cards. So some guys, they do the little signature, they put it in your locker, and it's been a real cool thing for me to, like, I guess, kind of, just another thing to bring you back to like the kids' days, and then just really make you realize, like, oh man, I'm just playing a game at the end of the day. Like,
Trading
it's
cards
never
before practice. I think everyone did that when they were 6, and you're still doing it now.
still doing it now. So yeah, I'm excited for these upper deck segments that we'll have, but and definitely excited that I will be getting a card this year. I think it's a really good chance.
And you mentioned, obviously, you broke out last year. I don't think that's a secret to anyone listening to this podcast. The goose was all over the CFL social media. It brings up a point that I wanted to talk about, just because you got your start on special teams, and that's something that you've been very vocal about on social media. And I would fashion a guess to say you're proud of where you got your start on social media, or on special teams, because it's just you got to work your way up. Guys who start on special teams, a lot of the time, I feel like they're not really handed anything. You worked your way up to a starting spot with Hamilton, and now they're talking about the kickoff is too dangerous. Maybe we should go away from it. What are your thoughts on that, and just the future of guys like you who made their name on special teams, and now that they're talking about outlawing it, will those guys have an opportunity to kind of make a name for themselves elsewhere, or is this kind of the end of special teams guys scratching and clawing their way to a starting spot until they get that upper deck card?
Well, I don't know if I can speak for the upper deck card, and if balling out on special teams coincides with that, it might. But yeah, that's been one of the things I've seen kind of this offseason with, just the fact that they might change that rule. It was something I tweeted about, I think a couple months ago, when they had, and when I say they, I know that it's more of just the insiders of the CFL kind of making the announcements of, hey, this is what, they talked about at these CFL meetings. But in seeing that, I think I was a little bit hurt by it, because you just have so much respect for everybody that plays special teams, and obviously player safety is, of the utmost importance, especially in today's age, where you just have these guys that are moving at just such high speeds now, physically just so much bigger than what it was in the 90s and 2000s. And obviously technology and training has really advanced, but when you look at the guys that's where they earn their bread and butter. And for me, that's really what it was for the first 2 years of my career, and almost my third year as well. But it's just, everyone that plays special teams knows that it is a bloodbath. It's one of those teams where, it's funny, because one of our special teams, and I won't even say his name, but I'll just say one of my coaches, former coaches, always said the kind of saying of, when you're playing special teams, you can't play like you're going to play forever. So it may seem like a bad thing to say, but when you think about it, a lot of guys that are on special teams, like, this is your only reps. For me, it was my only reps for so long, and it was my only way to prove that I was a value asset to the team. And again, in the football business, whatever you're putting on tape is exactly how you're getting judged and, dollar signed when it comes to contract negotiations. They always say the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So for me, it was like, and everyone else that was out there, it's, hey, we're going out there, and we're going out there to just lay our bodies on the line, obviously within the rules. But you're going out there flying 110 miles an hour, and you're hitting anything that moves. So again, I understand kind of where the league is coming from, and wanting to limit these high impact plays. Is there ways around it? Maybe, but I think just initially, I have to say, like, I don't really necessarily agree with it right now. And again, that's my opinion. Everyone's entitled to one, but I think no matter what the CFL does, I'm going to be on board, and I'm going to be playing. If I don't want to play and if I want a job, I gotta be able to do what's required and what the rules say. So, for right now, I think it will definitely, if they do go in that direction to eliminate it entirely, I think it will definitely hurt the up and coming players that, kickoffs are one of those plays where, they show who they are, they earn their stripes. It's just kind of like a rite of passage in the CFL and really any of these sports leagues. But I think kind of moving on, I guess from the fans' perspective, do you feel like kickoffs are a necessity in the game, especially when you see, these explosive kickoff returns with, guys like Lawrence Woods, Javon Leake, Chandler Worthy. I'm missing more guys in there, and they're probably going to get mad at me and comment on this. But with that being said, do you feel like those explosive kickoff returns, is that enough to move the needle for the CFL to say, yes, we are unique, and we as opposed to the NFL have all these great returns, but we've seen that obviously the injuries happen. Do you think from the fan perspective, is that enough of an uproar to be like, hey, no, we love seeing these explosive returns, or, we don't really care that much anyways. We'd rather just, see the offense out on the field anyways.
I mean, personally, I love a good kickoff return, and I say that as a fan who's never played special teams and had to wake up on Sunday or Monday after playing a game of special teams. But I think that's what confuses me the most is, as a fan, I love there's nothing quite like a kick return, especially in the CFL. Like, just the way I envision it is the kickoff to start the game. Like, I don't want that to just become, a team is starting at the 35 or the 40 or the 40, whatever they decide to do. The kickoff is what starts the game. So I don't know if they're going to keep that kickoff in, but eliminate all the other ones. But it confuses me because when you talk about it, about how special teams guys like yourself, that's the opportunity they got, and guys would suffer in the locker room if they were to eliminate kickoffs. From the fan side, I don't know that there's necessarily an uproar about player injuries. And I know from the CFL, obviously, I believe Dave Naylor mentioned in one of his articles talking about this recently, that there is a significantly higher injury rate on kickoffs like this. And you saw it just in the West semifinal this past year when Peyton Logan and a member of the BC Lions collided at full speed. And it was a scary scene to say the least. But as a fan, I'm not clamoring for the kickoff to go away. So I'm curious as to where the necessity and the want from the CFL's point of view, where that's coming from. And if it's just safety, I feel like when you're getting into football, safety is not exactly the number one priority, especially if you're playing flag football, sure, and we'll get into that later. But when it comes to tackle football, especially at the CFL level where it's a huge field, guys are flying around, I'm not sure where this uproar is coming from. So I would say as a fan, there's nothing quite like a good kickoff and a good kickoff return. And I would ask you a question about what is so different about a kickoff compared to a punt in terms of a safety management point of view. Like, is there obviously the punts, especially with the no yards rule and fair catches and things like that, you get it is obviously safer. To me, I just as a fan, I can understand that, but it's still high impact, and it's still guys kind of running and looking to hit anything that moves. So is it, from your perspective, is it vastly different in terms of you wake up on Sunday after only playing punts and you feel great? Or like, is it that drastic, kickoffs versus punts, in terms of how the players are feeling?
Right. And I'm not here to tell you that there aren't a ton of injuries that happen on special teams. I think special teams is one of the highest if you probably go and do the actual, and I'm sure the CFL does or has done this already, if you run the numbers, I'm sure the amount of injuries that happen on special teams compared to like offense or defense is probably like, a few times more, if not more than that. But when you break it down from kickoff to punt, and obviously I've done both, there is something to be said about having, and this is one of the reasons why I've never been a fan of playing kickoff return as like a blocker, but I will do it mercilessly if I have to. But from the kickoff side, you have such an advantage getting at some of these guys a 30, 40-yard full speed sprint. And, you're talking the average weight of most of the guys on kickoff is probably about 200 pounds, between 195 to at least 200 pounds. Some guys are getting up to 240 on those interior runners. But they're getting a full speed run at a lot of the guys who, technique-wise, were getting taught to, sit back and then attack these guys, right? So the amount, the force in those collisions is, you can see why probably there's a lot of concussions or a lot of, knee injuries or shoulder injuries. I mean, that's going to happen in football regardless because it's a contact sport. But yes, the kickoff in general is one of those where, I've had my bell rung before where I've, gotten flattened by a guy. But, you just get right back up and you keep playing. And that may seem kind of scary to say when, the fan is thinking about that or a doctor is seeing that. But I think the way I fall back always is, the game of football was never invented to be like a safe game when you're playing the tackle game. And I guess that's probably why tackle football gets outlawed in recess as a kid and stuff like that. But there are initiatives, I think, that have made the game safer for the better. When you go to like quarterback protection of, not being able to dive at a guy's knees or at least hitting that below the knee area. But when you start getting into the special team stuff, it's like there's such a balance because it's like one part of you wants, you never want to see your brother or your best friend on the field get injured. But again, you also don't want to see them not on the field with you because they're out of a job, right? So it's like, how do you balance the safety part while also maintaining the core values of tackle football, and all that? Obviously, I'm not even close to being qualified to make a decision like that. But it is, it's always interesting just to share my experience and my thoughts on it because, again, I don't know if I'd still be in the league or have gotten my shot to become a starter if I didn't earn my stripes on special teams, specifically kickoff and punt. Because I'll tell you, yeah, kickoff and punt are a little bit different, but punt's right up there too in terms of, when you're covering, you're still running that full speed down. You're fighting with the guy. For the guys that are in the interior, it's just like playing offensive line and defensive line. It's a car crash in there. And then you throw in a returner that's 4.4, 4.3 speed, and you're having to chase him down, run through guys, hit dudes. And it's like, man, I've had games where I'm like, gosh, my shoulder's really bucking me today, but I can't not go cover the punt because I got to keep playing. I'm trying to earn my spot, show these guys, especially from a rookie standpoint, show my teammates that, I'm a guy you can count on. I'm a guy you can trust. I'm trying to earn your respect. So I feel for the rookies and the guys who are trying to, that's how they make their money if they do in fact eliminate it. But again, I know kind of what they're looking at doing is having the option of a team, just like how they do after field goals, the option to, return instead of doing the return, taking the ball at the 40. So I know that's what they're looking at kind of in these meetings that the CFL is having this week at the Combine. Now, whether or not that is the answer to it, and then you'll still have a kickoff at the start of the game and at halftime that you'll be able to cover. Sometimes if you're on the team where the coach plays the wind, you might not cover a kickoff at all, just because some coaches will take the ball and take the wind in the second half, kick off or defer and then take the wind in the second half. So sometimes you might not even cover a kick if those are the rules. But I think from a special teams coordinator look and how I've always seen it done, at least from my view on the sidelines and what coaches usually opt to do, is especially after a field goal, if it's early in the game, and mind you, the rules within I think 2 minutes in the at the end of the half, where if there is a field goal kicked, you have to do a kickoff return. There's no opting out or anything like that. Yeah. I don't know how that rule plays into it, but any time outside of that, if a coach, if the other team kicks a field goal and the special teams coordinator sends out their kickoff return team, that is a huge kick in the nuts to the cover team of the other team. Because basically what that special teams coordinator is saying is, we don't think you can cover our kickoff very well, and we think we can get it past the 40. So really it's like a macho man type of test where you could see that being implicated, in these CFL games where, yeah, they may have that rule where you can opt out, but some of these coordinators might not opt out because look at how many great returners we have in the league that can take the ball past the 40 and have done it numerous times. I mean,
they take it to the house,
right? Like taking it all the way, 110, sometimes 115 yards. And it's just like, well, now you're gut punching the other team's special teams coordinator and saying, hey, we don't think your coverage team is good enough to cover it. So I think it's one of those things where I don't know how they implement it, at least in this year, maybe in the years upcoming, but I think it's one of those things again where time will just tell whether or not it will be a good option. And again, I don't think there's any way where you can fully just say this year, hey, you know what, this year there's no kickoffs. I think there's a process to these sort of things where you slowly implement it, whether it's a preseason game or something like that, just to test it out and see how it would work. Because they've done that before. They've done that with the defensive players having the mic in their helmet, which I wish would still be a thing. But, they do things like that where they test things in preseason games, and then, whether or not they run it in the actual season, it just gives the league a little bit more understanding on if it's going to be a benefit moving forward.
And I think the whole kickoff conversation is just about safety. And I think you mentioned that tackle football gets outlawed at recess because it's not safe. And even though I'm convinced that if it was around when I was in 5th grade, I'd probably be starting running back in the CFL, but they just never gave me that opportunity. But that brings up the topic of flag football. And obviously there was a lot of talk about flag football 28 Olympics before tackle football. And I think a lot of that is to alleviate the concern of safety, because if you say football to anyone in Europe, they're not going to think about the football that we're talking about. So flag football is kind of just more digestible. But is flag football kind of the next iteration? I know a lot of people like to be a little dramatic when things like the kickoff are talked about being being ruled too dangerous for football, or hits kind of that were legal 10 years ago being illegal now for unnecessary roughness or whatever it may be. A lot of people like to say, well, we're one step away from flag football. From your perspective as a player, are we one step away from flag football? Is it the future, or is it the guy sitting on his couch watching the doubleheader on Saturday just wants to see the crackback hits when a guy's coming over the middle kind of thing?
Yeah, I think there's, again, it's one of those things where, I grew up, the first, I guess, type of football I played was flag football. I wasn't really allowed to play tackle football until, I sort of came of age, when I was 13 or 14 years old. But all throughout elementary school, it was flag football for me. And the reason is, it's, again, I wasn't able to play because it was contact, but you go into flag football and there really isn't. There is a little bit, but it's not like football where you're getting hit. Tackle football where you're getting hit every time, every play. So is it the future? Can you say, I wouldn't even think it would be 10 years from now, but can you say, 20, 30 years down the line, is tackle football just a thing of the past? And is it flag football, whether it is still I think right now it's like 5-on-5 on like a 70-yard long field. But I think that right there would have a lot of Canadians mad, because you'd be taking away the 3 downs, the CFL dimensions, which is a hot topic as it is. But I don't think it is. I think it will continue to be more prominent. And then again, it's one of those sports where there really isn't an age cap on it, unless there's still the same injuries that happen. You'll have your knee issues, you land wrong shoulder, something like that. But there definitely will be less injuries playing that way. Now, whether or not the fans are, would be able to track over from the CFL to like a Canadian flag football league, that remains to be seen. But I think with the Olympics, having it as an Olympic sport, especially in the 2028, upcoming Olympics, I think it's a serious thing to be looking at. I personally love tackle football. I don't think it should be outlawed. Again, it is a violent sport, so I understand, safety and human safety at the end of the day is very important. But there's bigger fish to fry about, potential injury when you look at football compared to other things going on in the world. But yeah, I think we could possibly see, flag football starting to make the emergence as the bigger sport, especially now that it's going to be on the world stage. You'll see, billions of people watching flag football. There's not going to be billions of people watching tackle football at the Olympics. Now, yeah, the NFL is big and the CFL has its space, in Canada, across the globe as well. But when you're talking the Olympic level, I mean, again, we're talking billions of people are going to be watching flag football. So, I mean, take that as you may. I think potentially we could see it in maybe not my future, but some sort of CFL future down the line where maybe there is an alternate. There's a CFL tackle league and maybe a CFL flag league down the line, and just allows more players to enter the game and continue to play this great sport that kind of we all love.
And speaking of putting on flag football, kind of showing Canadian football to the world in front of billions, it's the Olympics. You're recruited to the team. What other guys from the CFL or NFL, just what other Canadian guys do you want to be lining up with in 2028 for when Canada is looking to chase that Olympic gold?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that one a lot. I think for me, just personally, I'll probably be 2028. That's about 4 years from now. So I'll probably be in my we'll say early grizzled 30s. But I'm planning on hopefully having a long career and being able to play till then. But if I could have my pick of a few guys that are currently in the league, on a 5 to 10 man team, I think you got to say, hey, we got to have a dynamic quarterback like Trey Ford in there, who can run around, throw the ball, probably can go both ways, and then his twin brother Tyrell as well. You got a few guys like that. Marc-Antoine Dequoy, Tunde Adeleke, some DBs that are Canadian that have played at the highest of levels, these past few years. And then even you look at the receivers wise, you got the Philpott twins. I mean, we got a lot of twins out there. I don't know what it is. Even you look down south to the NFL, the Canadian Brown brothers, they're having their success down there, both at running back and DB. And then you got Javon Holland as well down in Miami. So whether or not all of us are still in playing shape when the next Olympics come, I think that's at least a start of guys that, at least has a crop of talent to have the opportunity to play. Now we get into the question of, all right, well, is the CFL even going to allow players to play? Because right now I think that would happen in about, late July and take up about 3 to 4 weeks of the CFL season. So then you got to think about, all right, you're going to have to miss out on 3 weeks of pay as a CFL player if the league isn't willing to pay you, because usually if you're not playing a game, you're not getting paid. And then, the injury liability. But then again, you look at other leagues like the NHL, who has taken a step back from playing in the Olympics the last few years. And now they're saying, hey, you know what? We want the best of the best to be playing for their countries. And in 2026, they're allowing the NHL players to go participate. I know their schedule is a little more structured to facilitate a, kind of all-star or Olympic break. Whether or not the CFL is able to do that, you start factoring a 3 or 4 week break in the middle of July, you start to think, well, now we got to play the Grey Cup in December. And I've been a part of a, Grey Cup playoffs in December, and I've seen the Saskatchewan snow, the prairies in Manitoba, all that, Calgary. Do you necessarily want to be playing there, late in December? So I think you really got to look at that end of it. Is it even viable for CFL players to play? And then also is like, I'm sure the NFL wants their players to play as well, the best Americans playing for the U.S. But then you got to look at like qualifying, right? Because usually World Cup, or not World Cup, but Olympic qualifying is kind of the years leading up to. So how does it all coincide and work well where everyone's happy, both in the CFL and the Team Canada Olympic Committee? I don't know or have the answer to that. I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see as it gets closer and these qualifying games start to get played and the decision makers start to reach out, hopefully, to the CFL for a collaborative effort in the CFLPA for players to be able to play coming down the road.
Absolutely. And I think, whether it's kickoffs, flag football, punts, et cetera, we're never going to have an answer on that until I think the CFL provides the answer of kickoffs are in or kickoffs are out, or we're going
Right.
to stay as tackle football. And it's not really something that you can really predict. I mean, you can kind of see the lean that the league is going to, but at the end of the day, it's all just guesswork up until then. And on that
Right.
note, I think we've covered the rules, we've covered safety, the Olympics, kickoffs, punts, you name it. We've done a lot of the on-field football. We alluded to it earlier, a little bit of the off-field football. Mr. Katsantonis himself has his own card collection that will hopefully include him soon. But yeah, we
Hopefully.
just want to get to a quick segment, just focusing on cards and packs, because as we mentioned, it's anything kind of in pop culture that the CFL is a part of should be promoted among the league. So Stavros, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I'll take it away here, and we'll get right into it. We'll switch over to our little, I guess, upper deck cam over here. Something that's never been done in the CFL, at least by a player to my knowledge, of pack breaks and those things. But it is one thing that I've been interested in, and Upper Deck is actually very interested in sponsoring this and giving us some packs. But for the time being, I decided I wanted to kind of go through, I guess, just my CFL card collection. And obviously, this is kind of my piece de resistance right here, this Upper Deck card that I got of myself. So I do have an Upper Deck card. I just don't have a CFL one yet. But this is a future swatch that I got from playing for Team Canada back in, I think it was 2016 in the International Bowl. So there's actually a few of these floating around. I've only signed one of these. And it is in my former youth football coach's office, and it is in a nice sleeve. So if you
Is
do
that a
ever,
glove or a jersey, or what's the patch?
so this is a jersey patch. I didn't get to keep my jersey, so I would say this is certified official, because I did try to keep my jersey, and they wouldn't let me. So this was probably why.
It's all going to the cards.
All going to the cards and all going to the cause. So that was one of the ones where I was just super excited to kind of get like my first card, and that was like where I first started realizing, like, man, I'm on a trading card. Like, this is something you only dream about. So again, if you ever see one that's signed, I've only signed one of them, so it is a fake. So don't trust it for those card graders out there. But we'll kind of get into my, I guess, sort of 2021 CFL pack. This is obviously a cool one. Jovan Santos Knox, one of my former teammates. This is actually serial numbered 110 out of 165. So just a cool little collector's one there, and one that holds a dear place in my heart as a former teammate. I got a Chris Aki one, great former Canadian, recently retired, 104 out of 165. Again, just a really cool one there. Patrick Neufeld, 45 out of 50. And actually a funny story. I know, Patrick and I obviously aren't friends, but and we're actually more like enemies because of on the field. But I'm sure if I met the guy, we'd have a beer and be a great time. But one of the funny things from the Grey Cup in 2021, we were going at it back and forth. Obviously, he had the last laugh, but that's my little, I guess, Patrick Neufeld altercation in the Grey Cup of 2021. He does have the last laugh as of right now, but we'll see how that goes over the next couple years. This is another cool one, a signed Boris Beatty, one of the best kickers in the CFL, a guy that absolutely booms it on field goals, on kickoffs. Again, a signed Boris Beatty card, so that's a cool one. I got another one, a Randall Evans, former Ottawa Red Blacks DB. This one is a 34 out of 165 serial number, so just, again, another cool one. Here, Shaq Evans, 17 out of 50. I'll cover this part right here because that's one of my really good teammate veterans right there. So I won't put him on blast. It's a Cat one versus a Saskatchewan.
It's photoshopped anyway.
Yeah, I don't think this is actually a real card. We might have to call it Upper Deck for a misprint because that's not who I think it is. Another one here, another former teammate of mine, Alden Darby, one of the great DBs in the CFL, 156 out of 165. Just another cool one there. Got a Antoine Pruneau, 119 out of 165. A veteran, former retired or just recently retired, but a veteran free safety in the league, was a standout all his years. Grey Cup champ, really good dude. Was fortunate enough to meet him last year at the CFLPA's AGM. So just an awesome dude. Great guy to watch film on. And here we go. This is one of my probably most legendary cards right here. The greatest linebacker, in my opinion, probably of all time. I think he's number one in all-time tackles for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. My great friend, great teammate, recently graduated into the Hamilton Tiger Cat Sports Entertainment Group. And Simone Lawrence, one of the most prolific linebackers probably in CFL history, one of those guys that you look back on, played his whole career for the most part, all in Hamilton, and had a stellar career. So that's one of my favorite ones right there.
He has to be the only CFL player with a snowplow named after him.
Simone Lawrence outvoted Taylor. Was it Taylor Drift, I think, or something?
I think
like
it was
Snowdrift?
Taylor Drift. That sounds right.
Something like that. So that's how you know Simone Lawrence is Hamilton and can only hope to aspire to be like a player like him and a person in the community like he's been. So Simone Lawrence. Got an Avery Ellis, 30 out of 50 with the Red Blacks. A Jalen Acklin, 70 out of 165. And I'll tell you guys a quick story where the Mongoose name actually came from was with Jalen my rookie year. Didn't really know a whole lot of, obviously I knew how to practice, but didn't really get the whole, day 3, try not to rough anybody up. Like, yes, it's a very fast-paced practice, but Jalen and I kind of got into it, had a little altercation. I was obviously holding my own as the rookie, and, had to be pulled apart a few times. And then on the way off the field, I was coined the nickname from my then DB coach, Craig Butler, former Hamilton Tiger Cat, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider. He said, "Man, you're feisty out there. You're like a mongoose out there." And he's like, "You know what? That's going to be your nickname, the Mongoose." And ever since then, every single coach, every single teammate has either referred to me as the Mongoose or the Goose. It's stuck. And, I guess that's kind of the secret story behind that. Love Jalen. We're good friends now. And obviously we're good friends after that. But, football gets heated sometimes. But at the end of the day, locker room teammates. That's a cool little story there. Got a Jamal Campbell, 106 out of 165. That's another cool one. Great offensive lineman for the Argos. And then this one isn't serial numbered, but I wanted to share it because it's from Dietrich Nichols' rookie year. So this is his rookie card from that 2021 season when he kind of had his outstanding breakout season. Dietrich Nichols, now number 1, I think still with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, if I'm not mistaken. And then this is another great one. Jagger Davis, 22 out of 165. They call him Mr. Grey Cup for a reason, so this is one of my favorite ones. I actually still do have a non-serial number card, but it is signed by him. So JG, one of my good dudes and good mentor on the CFL game. And then another rookie card from DeAndre Alford, also known as D. Alford, who is currently in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, still. But again, another just cool rookie card to have. Not serial numbered, but one of those cool ones. And then I'll kind of get into these, Upper Deck game jersey ones that I got. This one is a pretty cool one. It's a Brendan Labatt game jersey that he wore in Saskatchewan. So I'm sure the Saskatchewan faithful probably would love to get their hands on this type of card. But yeah, cool Upper Deck one. Another one of B.J. Cunningham, a great receiver with the Montreal Alouettes. Another game-worn jersey of him, so that's a cool one. And then this one, assigned. You're going to appreciate this one, Luca. Assigned
100%.
Kamar Jordan and jersey auto. So, I mean, what's your, thoughts when Kamar Jordan comes to mind for you?
I mean, legend of the Stamps. I don't think that you think about the Stamps in their kind of heyday from 2014 on. I don't think it happens without a receiver like Kamar Jordan. And I think just who he is around the community. I know as long as I've been with the organization, I don't think anyone said a bad word about him. And just a legend of the game. It's a beautiful card of a great player.
Yeah, I might have to sell this one too. I'll try not to get any fingerprints on it or anything like that. I've been very careful. And then this one is an interesting one. It's a pretty cool serial number because I think it is 25 out of 25, if we can see that. So just a cool number. But it's a Matt Nichols, 1 season with the Ottawa Red Blacks, and it looks like we got a part of the crested number from his jersey. So a game-worn jersey. To me, that would be pretty rare. I mean, I know a crested jersey patch when I see one. So, again, just a cool serial number and a cool card to have. Maybe one day I can send it on down to him. Maybe he'll give us a signature on it. But again, these cards aren't for sale, people. They're not for sale. This is just my collection that I got. And then I'll just kind of run off these ones really quickly. This is from the I believe it's the 2018 Upper Deck series. So got a 100 out of 150 J.C. Sherritt, great linebacker from Edmonton, had a great career there. An Acombre Williams, 66 out of 150. Again, I know you'll probably appreciate that one, Luca, from back in the Grey Cup stamp days. Hopefully they can return, just not any time while I'm playing.
Well, they can return. They just can't win it while you're playing.
Yeah, that's true. We can do that. All right, we got an Avery Ellis, 29 out of 150. And another Jovan Santos Knox, 12 out of 50. Some of you that don't know, he did play for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he always does talk to me about how he missed the back-to-back Grey Cup years because he came to Hamilton. But he said he wouldn't have it any other way. Great dude, great linebacker. Looking forward to seeing him return to the top this season with the Red Blacks. Again, just not against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And then this is a cool one, 84 out of 150. This is a rookie card from Faith. I think it's Ekakitie. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But again, he was a top draft pick. I don't know if he's still on a CFL team. But again, just a cool serial carded rookie card from his draft year. This one's a cool one. Mike Filer, a Tie-Cat legend, the beard, the retro face mask. I think he also did sport the bar going down the middle, which I'm sure if anyone created like a Madden player way back when they were a kid, everyone didn't want to wear that face mask. But Filer's a cool dude, guy that I met my rookie year. He ended up retiring during training camp. But again, a veteran, a mean offensive lineman that you wouldn't want to come across ever. This is a cool one, a signed Rico Murray card. He played for the Tie-Cats, I believe, the year before I ended up getting drafted. So great DB. Was also part of the Ottawa Red Blacks back in the day and the Toronto Argos. This is one of those cards where this is the CFL because he was on the Red Blacks, but the card photo is taken when he was on the Argos the year before. So free agency for you right there. And then I got a Jermaine Gabriel card, 82 out of 150, one of the great Canadian safeties, part of that Grey Cup team, I think back in 2017. So that is a cool card to have right there. This might be a pretty good card. We got Hall of Famer John Bowman, signed Montreal Alouettes. I don't know, Luca, what do you think? Do you think this card could go for some cash if someone actually wanted to, buy it?
There's definitely some Als fans that need that one for their collection that I'm sure would be happy to have it. Bring it home.
Yeah, any Alouettes fans, if you want this card, I may be looking to part with it, but it is a cool one to have. A Bakari Grant, 133 out of 150. We got an Alex Green, 1 out of 15, former Tie-Cat. That's a pretty cool one. And then we got a Larry Dean, Champ Dean, 98 out of 150, back when he was playing for the Tie-Cats. Shout out to him, recently retired and now joining the Saskatchewan Rough Riders front office. So wishing him nothing but the best in his next journey. This is a cool one, and this might give you nightmares, Luca. Deron Carter, 7 out of 50. And I can only wonder if this photo was taken when he picked off my current quarterback, Bo Levi Mitchell, and took it to the house back in the day.
This might be another one of those doctored ones that we have to send Upper Deck. I don't know that that's from a real game as far as my memory serves, but we'll have a word with their quality control team and make sure that it's all up to date.
Oh man, we'll have to bring this card and get Bo on a show sometime during the season and just go back to that time because I'd love to hear his story on that one. But moving along here, we got a Chris Rainey, 35 out of 150. This is really cool. I was always a big Chris Rainey fan when he was at Florida. As a kid, the Gators were like my college team. So being able to have this in my collection is definitely a cool thing. Never got to meet him, unfortunately, but again, just a cool one to have. And then, again, not a serial one. And Luca, you'll be another fan of this one. Maybe we can
100%.
get Cam Judge to sign this. But a Cam Judge rookie card from his rookie year. Outstanding rookie season with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So
And he's got the finger tape. That's an every game thing. That finger tape is always on. One of the best in the league, if not the best.
One of
Great
the best.
Canadian.
One of the best Canadians and one of the highest paid Canadians and on defense, and rightly so, very deserving. Love seeing that guy play. I mean, he makes tons of plays at that linebacking position that you just wonder, like, how does a linebacker make those type of plays? But a good guy that's in the league that you just wish nothing but the best for. So this is my final one. I want to end it off on, this is not, I mean, to some, this may be a special card. To me, it's a special card. And Luca, I know you know Rich probably from his time in Calgary, but the rookie of the year.
I think he was before my time. Unfortunately,
he may have been before your time, but he was a Calgary stamp for just 1 year. Unfortunately, he's back with the Ticats. But this was his rookie card essentially when he had his rookie of the year season. Rich is an outstanding vet. Great dude, great teammate. But yeah, I had to throw this one in here for my guy Rich, his little rookie card, number 37. That doesn't even look right on him now. But again, just a cool little card collection there. Again, this is like my actual stack of just regular cards that I have. But I might have to get like a new, I guess a new pack to hold all these things in, because again, I'm starting to run out of room here. But that was our kind of our upper deck segment. But going forward, I hope you guys can, we're going to figure this out, but we are going to be giving out cards from trading packs going forward here. So we'll be letting you guys know kind of on the Behind the Visor social media, also on my social media, on how you can get involved in that. The card will be free. All you got to pay for is the shipping. I promise there's no other hidden things or anything like that. But we'll do a randomizer, and the people that are in and entered, first come, first serve basis, we'll randomize your names, and you'll get a card in the order that you've been randomized in. And hopefully we can just continue to grow this, CFL trading card interest among fans. How does that sound, Luca?
I mean, that sounds awesome. I know there was a couple cards in there that I don't personally remember, just because they must have been fake or dreams or something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, just to echo Stavros's point, like, if you're into cards like this, especially from hobby boxes, from Upper Deck and from the CFL, usually they're not free. Usually it's you're buying some pretty expensive boxes, and obviously just with how expensive the best cards can be, we kind of want to provide an opportunity for anyone to get into the hobby, and I think this is a great start, especially if you happen to across one of the signed cards, one of the patch cards. Maybe you'll get a 1 of 1 from Stavros's first collection in Upper Deck. But yeah, no, it's moving forward. Make sure that you leave in the comments kind of if you're interested in this, how you'd want to do the break, what cards you might want, and maybe you'll be going home with it.
All right, Lucas, so we got our next guest coming on here. He's a Cincinnati alum, former AAC champion, NFL and USFL linebacker, and right now, kind of the hottest topic of the CFL draft upcoming, Joel Dublanko. Joel, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys.
Yeah, no problem. Kind of, I guess your path to the CFL is one of those unique stories where, you were obviously born in the U.S., kind of grew up playing American football. I'm sure probably didn't hear much about the CFL, or maybe even Canada for that matter. But I guess what kind of changed your decision to pursue like your Canadian citizenship, and then just having your eyes set on the CFL itself?
Yeah, well, I had a cousin that played in the CFL. His name is Dublanko. And so from early on, I knew my dad was Canadian, and very proud of that. Visited family back there. We would always talk about wanting to do the Canadian citizenship thing, but it kind of always got pushed off. So very recently, I had some things going on in the States in terms of just some momentum with the UFL and the USFL and the XFL leagues, and the NFL had some success there. So just wanted to see that through before going to the CFL route. Last year I was in talks with Ottawa. They reached out about having me, and then I actually told them, hey, I'm actually Canadian as well. So they tried to get me going on some of the paperwork, and then I got picked up by the Philadelphia Stars halfway through their season, and then yeah, was hoping to get on a UFL team, and then it didn't work out with the merge because the Philadelphia Stars got cut. But yeah, I'm super excited to pursue this journey of going in the CFL. I'm really excited. It's going to be cool to just be back. Go to Canada and just embrace all that. I mean, I grew up hearing stories and visited growing up and got a lot of family there. So it'd be cool to reconnect with them. And so I'm just excited for the experience. And I love football too. And even sometimes like the difference in the game between American football and how the CFL rules can be intimidating to guys. But I'm just excited to learn like a new style of ball and just see what's similar and whatnot. And so I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to football, but yeah, I'm just excited for the experience and yeah, excited to go to the Combine this week too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know you mentioned your cousin Curtis playing with Edmonton. Did you ever like happen to be able to make it to like a CFL game back when he was playing?
Yeah, we went to a game up in Vancouver, BC. So
Okay.
I'm originally from like Aberdeen, Washington,
Okay.
a couple hours away from Seattle. So we just drove up for one game, and we were able to get like lunch or dinner with him like before. I think it was the day before the game, and so it was really cool to connect with him. I'd never met him before at that time, but I remember going to the game, and yeah, it was really cool. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you mentioned being. I'm actually I was born in Seattle. I'm a dual citizen as well, so
nice.
I'm familiar with the Pacific Northwest. You mentioned kind of being nerd, student of the game, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was curious, just with kind of the rules being so different, and I mean, you as a linebacker, I'm sure you're well aware that they're asked to probably play a little more coverage in the CFL than they would be in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty noteworthy teammate in Sauce Gardner that you played with at Cincinnati. Did he give you any tips on coverage, or how did playing with him or a guy like Kobe Bryant, how did they kind of shape you to make sure that you're confident in your coverage abilities as you come up north?
Well, I don't know if they necessarily gave me a whole bunch of tips. I mean, I got work with them, but you know, if you got them in coverage, you don't really have to cover. So, but no, I think that's been something that's been kind of like a spot or like a black spot in my game or something like that. It's just a question mark if I can cover and stuff like that. And I think going to the CFL will just give me more of an opportunity to prove that and develop that. And so that's something I really focus on in my training, being able to move. You know, I'm traditionally more a downhill linebacker, and, you know, I am who I am. So working on all the other areas that's like really my focus, and making sure I'm, you know, moving well and all that, because, you know, whether it's, you know, you're 240, 235, 230, I'm still going to play the same, but if I can move better at 230, that's what I'm going to do, you know? So just trying to design myself to be more of an all-around linebacker than I was when I initially came out for the NFL draft a couple years ago.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know from experience playing with like high caliber players, definitely breeds that, you know, whether it's a dog mentality or just that little extra, you know, to help you get to the next level. And when you are there, you seem to transition. That transition timing is definitely a lot quicker, just because you have played with guys of that caliber. So I think, you know, I can definitely see your transition in the CFL. Obviously, you played in the NFL. You know, you've played in the USFL. I can see that transition obviously taking a little bit of time, you know, just with the different rules. But I think you've obviously proven yourself as an athlete. I mean, you were I'm pretty sure you were first team all AAC back when you were in college, and you've been a team captain at just about every level you've been at. So I don't see why it would be any different coming up into the CFL. But before we kind of get into, I guess, those rules, is there any I guess potential interest in, you know, I know you've kind of seen just what the public's put out about, you having a connection to Edmonton and stuff like that. But is there any, and with your cousin playing there, is there any like excitement that there's a possibility you could be wearing, the Edmonton Elks green and gold this upcoming season? Or is it just, you're just excited, obviously, to be a part of the draft, or kind of what's kind of the inside scoop on where you'd want to play if you had your choice?
Yeah, I think it's tough saying in this process, but I think it would be cool to be around family and whatnot. But I'm just happy to go wherever wants me the most. Sometimes it's not about being in a location, right? It's being where people want you to be, and
Right.
so I understand that. And also, I got into hunting the past couple of years, and so
Okay.
whatever Providence, has got some really good hunting. That's what I'm looking forward to as
Well,
well.
I mean, I'm personally I'm a newer hunter. As of kind of the COVID year, I have 2 bird dogs, 2 German Shorthair pointers.
Oh, that's cool.
And I moved to Idaho during the COVID pandemic and was living out there, kind of living I guess, kind of the wild man life, if you want to call it. My wife and I were. And I really got into upland hunting. Personally, from my experience, I know Saskatchewan has some of the best upland hunting probably in North America, if not the world.
What do you mean by upland hunting?
So your Hungarian partridge, pheasants, those type of thing, grouse, that type of deal.
Okay.
Mainly with bird dogs. I know probably what you're maybe more, I guess, fixed on is maybe the elk hunting, or which may not be the best if you are playing for Edmonton and you're hunting elks and that's your sort of mascot.
Sure.
But I don't think anyone's gonna be complaining if you're making plays on the weekend and hunting elk on the bye week. So but there's some of the best hunting is up in Canada. Obviously side you've seen all over the U.S. There's great hunting, but personally, I've been in Hamilton, and there's lots of things to hunt up there.
Cool.
There's some great game farms that I've been to and done some hunting out there with my dog. So you'll be able to find it just about anywhere. I think Vancouver might be your toughest place just because it's and Toronto because you're in the city, but you'll be able to drive to just about anywhere. If you're in Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba, I think you won't have trouble finding any hunting. I don't know if Luca, if you know anything about the hunting game, but
I know there's
to chime in.
Calgary and Edmonton are definitely good hunting spots. I mean, you're right. You're next to Banff, basically. It's probably it's something I definitely take for granted is being so close to the mountains. But I mean, either of those you can't really go wrong with. I think, like Stavros said, aside from Toronto and Vancouver, when you're kind of right in the city, and even then, it's 45 to an hour, and you're kind of right in the heart of the land where some good you'll be able to find some good hunting somewhere.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I've actually been to Banff and Jasper before. We drove through on a trip to go visit some family. So I was like, where I was there, I was like enamored. I was like, this place is like the coolest place ever. I'm a mountain guy, so.
Oh yeah. You can't go wrong with like
so
Lake
beautiful.
Louise or any of the lakes over there, or the ski resorts for that matter. If you're, winter or summer, I've been to Lake Louise, and seeing that kind of the picturesque lake with the glacier above in both seasons is kind of something cool. Doing the hikes and all that. I think Alberta is one of those cool provinces, along with British Columbia, where you really get to experience the outdoors. You get it a little bit in Saskatchewan, the prairies, Manitoba, but there is something to be said about living in like a state or province that has like kind of like that mountain landscape where you can really just go out and experience the outdoors. So yeah.
Well, just transitioning to back to your playing career, and you were obviously with the Seahawks in the NFL, and then you mentioned your time kind of in the UFL with Philadelphia. Making that transition to the CFL, I think that's something that you don't see a ton of. You see a lot of guys kind of come from the college level and then they make their way to the CFL, but I feel like it's pretty rare when we see someone who has played both at the NFL level and kind of in the UFL. What kind of adjustments have you had to make kind of on and off the field to prepare yourself both mentally and physically? I know you mentioned kind of playing at a lower weight to help with coverage, but on and off the field challenges that you've kind of had to plan for coming up to the CFL.
Right now, my whole process has been I think it is unique coming into the CFL, and especially the way I am, because I'm filling out some of these questionnaires and stuff like that, and they're asking me about my college playing days and stuff like that, and it's like yeah, that stuff is very applicable because it was a couple years ago. And that's when I played the bulk of my ball. But I've also, you know, like in interviews, or if they're, I don't even know a lot of the process, but I'm assuming that there's like team interviews and stuff like that. I'm just curious as to like what they're going to ask and stuff like that. Cause normally in like, when the NFL does that, you know, they're grilling you on questions with, what happened, you know, or these plays, write down your defenses and stuff like that. And, you know, the Philadelphia Stars, they're pretty good, in terms of, they play pretty vanilla in terms of like the coverages and stuff like that. Like they played them straight up. There weren't too many like weird wrinkles to them. And so I think I got a good grasp. And, you know, even, you know, I went from the Seahawks in the preseason, and I came in a week before their first preseason game. And then I played the whole second half of the first preseason game. And, you know, I was on the mic, and, you know, you're studying as much as you can, but I'm not even sure what, you know, it's muffled, and I'd never heard something on a mic, and I was having a hard time understanding. And so It was a mess. But I've been in situations these past couple of years where I've had to pick things up really, really quickly. I think I have the capacity. I have the capacity to do that, and I've continued to have to put myself in a position where I have to like learn the stuff really quickly and adjust on the fly. Coming in, maybe like, you know, I was with an XFL team too, and so learning that, and then, you know, not being with them, and then going to USFL, being mid-season, and having to, you know, be productive, you know, off the jump, and be a special teams contributor like immediately. And so I think a lot of that is something that's going to translate very well in terms of learning all the new rules, because even with like the spring leagues and stuff like that in the States down here, they got a lot of you know, little minute rules that are different for each league. So you got to be able to pick up each thing, but at the end of the day, ball is ball. So
Right. And that was kind of, I mean, that was personally, I can help you on two ends of I'm 4 years probably removed from the whole CFL interview process. So I can probably lend you a couple questions, or, you know, some of the things that I experienced. I know one of the main ones that some of the teams will ask you, you know, no different than when you were, you know, at your NFL interviews or the USFL or anything of that matter, but the typical, you know, what's your favorite defense, or draw us your favorite defense. So obviously, if you can, and I don't think they're going to make really a discrepancy on if it is a US defense. I don't think really any of them are probably expecting you to know like a CFL defense, which for the most part, once you get up here, you'll realize, especially being a box player, you know, it's very similar to, you know, the 3 or 4 down game, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, with your same, you know, 5-man fronts, you know, the running back sets. The only real major difference is you don't really get into those big tight end sets as often. It's more of like a true traditional like H-back, fullback. But I think you'll have no problem there transitioning when it comes to the actual box play. One thing I will recommend is make sure you are running and conditioning, because the CFL field, like, even though you probably think, and I thought the same thing when I first came up here in 2015, when I came up for university, I was thinking, you know, I'm gonna, you know, run the show up here. You know, I was, you know, one of the best guys on my high school team. Like, I'll be fine. And that conditioning of running like sideline to sideline just hit me like a truck. So I will say, if there's any advice I can offer you, definitely make sure you're conditioned and ready to go, because that's the game goes so fast, and it's so much faster than the US game, just because of, you know, it's 3 down. So sometimes you might get a 2 and out, and who knows, maybe you got to play special teams that game or something like that, and you got to go cover a punt, and then you know, your offense goes 2 and out, and now you're right back out there. So it's
2 and out. It's crazy. I didn't think about
really
that.
Interesting.
That's quick.
It's a quick dynamic, and sometimes you'll be sitting on the bench there after you just got off the field, and you know, you barely sat down, barely got a drink of water, and it's like you're hearing the special teams coordinator on the sideline say, "All right, punt team alert," and you start looking back at each other, and like, you're like, "Are you kidding me? Like, we just got off the field." And then the punt team goes out there, and it's like, "All right, well, like, we can't not go out on the field. Like, we got to go out and get a stop and you know, help our offense out." So I think you'll definitely be ready to go, and the combine itself is, you know, I mean, I guess kind of going into that part of it, are you not, I won't say worried, but are you kind of in a different state of mind? Obviously, you've done a pro day before. You've done the 40-yard dash. Is there? I mean, hypothetically, you probably could not do any of the combine testing, and you'd probably still be a top draft pick. What's your reasoning on why you're participating in the combine, aside from obviously going through the interview process and the new, 7-on-7 one-on-ones that you'll be competing in there?
I think it's just a good opportunity to get my feet wet a little bit early. Really, having a chance to compete and just kind of solidify myself in this draft. And then also, I feel like I'm a completely different athlete than I was when I came out. At my pro day, I had a hand start, a hand time, but the hand laser, the hand start of the laser is a little brutal, but I'm excited. I'm excited to hopefully post a better time than I did, in 2022. So that's really why I'm doing it, is so I can improve my numbers and get a chance to get new, combine official numbers. And so I think that's a great opportunity, and not many people get an opportunity like that in their playing career, to have a new number to your name. And so I think that's very beneficial. And then, like I said, get my feet wet and just kind of learn the game a little bit more. So.
Right. Do you have a what can we expect from you in the 40-yard dash? I'll be watching. I might be reacting live to it. I don't know. But can we expect anything speed-wise on the 40 or maybe on the bench press? Like, what is going to be your best kind of attribute you feel like in those combine testing numbers?
I think the safe bet is probably like saying my bench would be the best.
Okay.
During training, I hit 24 one time. So
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see. Everything's got to align, and
Yeah.
But it's nice to go through the process and a time before, and so I made mistakes, on my pro day at Cincinnati. Like I took my shirt off the bench and I slid, slid back, and then I hit the rack on 18, and so. But yeah, just little things like that, just knowing the timing and the speed of it. And, it may not all be the same, but just knowing that you're running your own race and got to make sure you're handling your stuff and everything like that. So.
Right. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, like you and I kind of both know, the testing numbers are the testing numbers, and that's not going to determine whether or not you're a great football player. Obviously, you've already proven that. Mm-hmm. It's just, a lot of times these scouts just want to make sure that what they see on film matches kind of what they see on the field when you're moving around. So,
yeah. Joel, this has been awesome. I think we got one final question for you.
Okay.
You're a Bearcat alum, first team all conference in your red shirt final year.
Yeah.
Are you the CFL's answer to Travis Kelce? There are a couple similarities there. I don't know. You're a hot topic on social media.
I don't know. I guess time will tell. But no, I just love ball, and I feel like I'm, the same person. And when I say the same person, I mean like I treat the game of football the same way that I did in Cincinnati and like all 6 years I was there. And, I just love the game of football, and I'm excited to bring that passion and that love for it up in the CFL. And it's funny just because, I'm a little bit older and I'm going to be a rookie and going through this draft process and everything like that. But I'm just excited to get on a team and just make an impact and, just really dive into, my Canadian roots and, just enjoy the process and the journey and, reconnect with family and the whole thing that goes along with it. So, I'm a huge person of faith, and, there's a lot of times where, in this journey, when you keep getting no's and, the up and downs, you ask God, why is this happening like this? And, maybe it was all to bring me to the CFL, and I'm excited for it, and I'm excited what God has for me. And if whatever he has for me, that's what I want. And if, something comes along my way that isn't mine or isn't what is in the will for me in the will of God, then
Mhm.
I don't want it. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm wishing you the best. I think like you said, God has a plan for you. I'm a firm believer as well. So, we'll let you kind of get back to it. I know you're getting probably ready to head out for the combine here in the next day or so, when this is being recorded, but we just wish you the best of luck. And, hopefully I would be selfish and want to say, hopefully we'll see you in the black and gold, the best fan base in the league, best stadium. If you want to play
Nice.
somewhere really great,
that.
the Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to
Red
be
and white
that's
for
going to
the
be the
stamps,
place.
I think, is where I'm gonna need.
Oh,
I'm gonna
man.
need to see.
Yeah, Luca definitely has.
He's
has
already
his
got the
allegiance, too.
Cincy red and white on. The red and white in the stands. I mean,
Oh.
it's a perfect 1-to-1. I mean, it's black, white, and red. You don't even have to change your
Sure.
wardrobe.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'll be rooting for the stamps.
We'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited for whatever team picks me up. So
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll embrace the opportunity, take it day by day, and we wish you nothing but the best in these next coming months.
awesome. Thank
Best
you.
of luck, Joel.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no
you guys.
problem. Yeah, and for those that are just audio listening, I hope I did my best job of explaining those cards. I was trying to do because I know there is a visual part, but for those audio listeners, if you want to watch the exclusive video podcast, it is on my YouTube channel, Stavros Katsantonis, under the Behind the Visor podcast section. And if you want to enter, just give us a comment on YouTube. Follow us on all our socials, Behind the Visor. On X, I got to call it X now because it's not technically Twitter anymore. On Instagram, obviously follow us on YouTube. And yeah, we're just looking forward to bringing you guys more CFL content and hopefully carrying this out through the season so you guys can really, I guess, the fans can really just be fans and see a little bit more about the players and kind of what we do. We plan to have some more, I guess, obviously in this episode, you've already seen the interview with Joel Dublanko, or Dublanko. I did hear him say Dublanko, so I don't know if I pronounce it wrong. But
I think it's Dublanko.
I think it is too, but I have this weird thing because I'm Canadian and American, and I'm sure you understand this as well, where I will mix my accents because sometimes I'll be, I'm in the U.S. for so long, so I'll pick up on my U.S. accent. And then when I'm back in the locker room, kind of around my Canadian friends, I start to say a little bit more and and things like that. So I believe he liked it pronounced as Joel Dublanko or Dublanko. See, I did it again.
There it is again.
And we will have some more player interviews of CFL players and stuff like that. But we really appreciate you guys all tuning in today. Again, you can get this wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and also the exclusive video version on YouTube. So make sure you guys follow us on all social platforms, and we will see y'all in the next video. Thank you guys so much.